Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the backstory. If you're new here, kindly hit that subscribe button and the notification bell down below so that you can be notified whenever we post a new video. Now, ladies and gentlemen, they say that in politics, there are two things that are constant. One is betrayal and two is interest. Any politician will always make a decision depending on where their interest is aligned. Now, yesterday, Kiharu Member of Parliament NDINDI called for a press conference and two things stood out. In this case, there were cases of accusations of betrayal, whereby NDINDI in a way accused President William Ruto of betraying him. Remember, NDINDI was President William Ruto's closest ally. Then secondly, there's another group that felt that NDINDI betrayed their cause. These are the people who are aligned to former President Rigathi Gachagua, who felt that NDINDI should have come out strongly to attack the President William Ruto. So I want us to listen to the video, then we'll come back and analyze.
No one in the leadership of our coalition, from whichever position, has ever called me in regards to the position, in regards to what I need to do better, in regards to what I need to change, in regards to things that needed to be done in a different manner. It's very good for me to put it into record because, as I said, I was holding this position knowing that I was serving Kenyans, so I am also answerable. And in sincerity say, there is no one who has ever called me decision makers of our coalition. The other thing in that question is that maybe for clarity's sake, the last discussion I had with the president of the country, the last political discussion, either a chat or a discussion as it were, was before October of last year. And I would not want, and you permit me to do that, not to discuss any further about any leader, because as you're all aware, I stopped serving in my position. It's barely a week.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, if you watch that video, two things have come out. One is that NDINDI has accused President William Ruto of betraying him. You know, just as I've told you, they were very, very close buddies. And if there was anything that President William Ruto felt that he failed to have done as the leader of that parliamentary committee, then he expected President William Ruto to have called him and explained to him what he expected of him. But President William Ruto and his handlers did not do this. He only came to realize about this in the newspapers. He was reading about himself, what his failures are in the newspaper, but no one called him. And in that video as well, he has talked about him not having talked to President William Ruto since last year in October. So what does that tell you? These were buddies who used to meet like almost on a weekly basis. And if they were meeting on a weekly basis, then it means even phone calls, texts and all that, they used to do on a regular basis. But here is a buddy who has not talked to his friend for the last, how many months? 4 to 5 months. That tells you that there was conflict between the two. But NDINDI says that President William Ruto did not call him, did not explain to him. All he had was that he was being removed from that position. And then there is the second lot of politicians that expected NDINDI to have come out now that he feels that he has been betrayed, just like Rigathi Gachagua was betrayed by President William Ruto. There's this lot of that are supporting former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who expected NDINDI, when he called for that press conference, they expected him to have come out strongly to attack President William Ruto. And why did they expect this? By Ndindi Nyoro attacking President William Ruto, Rigathi Gachagua and his team expected to mine kind of sympathy out of this, and they would also expect Ndindi Nyoro to also align himself to their cause, which Ndindi Nyoro did not. You know, Rigathi Gachagua has struggled to penetrate Murang'a County. If you look at the leaders who are aligned to him, most of them are from Nyeri, Kiambu, and other regions. But Murang'a County Murang'a County leaders have failed to align themselves to Rigathi Gachagua's cause. Remember, there was a time they attended a funeral in Murang'a, and Nyeri County Governor at some point was heard telling Murang'a County Governor Irungu Kang'ata to declare support for Rigathi Gachagua. So at the back of their mind, they expected Ndindi Nyoro to attack President William Ruto and then pledge allegiance to their cause. But why do you think Ndindi Nyoro did not do that? Ndindi Nyoro is a politician who is ambitious. That is according to him. He's very ambitious, and he knows that if he aligns himself to Rigathi Gachagua, even though that cause might be very popular, but by aligning himself to Rigathi Gachagua, he was going to play the second fiddle. Ndindi Nyoro has political ambitions to take over the political leadership of Mount Kenya. But when he aligns himself to Rigathi Gachagua is another abrasive and ambitious politician, which means he was going to make sure that Ndindi Nyoro aligns to his cause and letting him play a second fiddle. By Ndindi Nyoro not doing that, he lets himself open in such a way that he can champion his own cause, because there are now going to be two competing interests: Ndindi Nyoro versus Rigathi Gachagua in the fight for Mount Kenya kingship. And one thing that I think Ndindi Nyoro has learned is that Rigathi Gachagua might not be allowed to vie in 2027 or in 2032 due to the fact that he was impeached. And that leaves a vacuum for him to take advantage of. So by playing a second fiddle to Rigathi Gachagua, it means it was Rigathi Gachagua who was going to call the shots, and they would have betrayed him in the process. But he played a very smart move that I want you guys to look at. Ndindi Nyoro learned from Uhuru Kenyatta. When Kenyans were sending President Moi home, Kibaki was elected as the president. And Uhuru Kenyatta then was the official opposition leader. And the expectation then was that the opposition leader then was Uhuru Kenyatta, was going to give Mwai Kibaki a hard time as the opposition leader. But what did Uhuru Kenyatta do? He said that he was going to count everything as bygone and he was going to work together with Mwai Kibaki. And Uhuru Kenyatta worked with Mwai Kibaki up to 2007, and he was seen as the next kingpin of Mount Kenya. And he took over the mantle and the leadership of Mount Kenya. So Ndindi Nyoro, by not supporting the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, was appealing to the emotions of the Mount Kenya electorates in a smart way by telling them that if it's something that affects the Mount Kenya region, I will be with the people. And he was willing to sacrifice his position so as to support the cause of the mountain. But he's clever enough not to accept to play the second fiddle. And that is where now, going to 2027 or going to 2032, he will try to craft his own movement away from Rigathi Gachagua. So that is why the Rigathi Gachagua group are not feeling somehow comfortable, because they wanted someone who was going to give some oomph to their cause. And by capturing Ndindi Nyoro to their side, that would have been a plus and a very, very big capture to them. So that is why if you look at what is happening in the social media, so many of Rigathi Gachagwa's supporters did not feel like NDINDI NYORO came out openly and strongly to give some energy to their cause, which is the anti-William Ruto movement. So two things that, just as I've told you, that came out clearly is the fact that NDINDI NYORO made all these moves. Because if you watch the whole video, there's a point that he was talking about him not coming out. He was giving a reason as to why he did not come out to attack President William Ruto. And he said that he has a different personality. For him, even if he doesn't agree with you, he will not come out openly and attack you.
The position I hold is that I respect every reader. And I could have things I need to talk about. I could have reservations on decisions made. But I don't think it has been within my role to talk about those things, especially in public.
So it was disabusing that notion that he was going to attack President William Ruto, because he knows very well that at some point, President William Ruto is the sitting president. At some point, he's going to need President William Ruto, either directly or indirectly. So by attacking him, it was going to open like another Pandora's box. But NDINDI NYORO acted out of his own political and personal political interests. Interest first, betrayal will be part of the process. And that is why NDINDI NYORO made that decision. And you'd want to ask yourself, if there was betrayal if President Ruto betrayed NDINDI NYORO, who was a very close ally, why do you think President William Ruto did that? Because of his own political interest and survival. President William Ruto looked at NDINDI NYORO as a very close ally. And he expected that during the time that he was being attacked by the Gen Zs and Rigathi Gachagua politically, he expected that his close allies would support him. And some of his closest allies from Central Kenya were the likes of NDINDI NYORO, the likes of Kimani Ichung'wah, Moses Kuria. But NDINDI NYORO did not do that. And that is why I think President William Ruto had to let him go. He did not come out openly to defend his friend then, who was President William Ruto. He took like a neutral stand. And even when Rigathi Gachagua was being impeached, at no point did NDINDI NYORO stand with the President William Ruto. The only person who has been constantly supporting President William Ruto from the central Mount Kenya region is Kimani Ichung'wah. But President William Ruto expected NDINDI NYORO as a senior member in Parliament. He expected him to come out and defend him. So he felt somehow betrayed by the Kiaru member of Parliament. And that is why he had to let him go. Because for him, this was a matter of political survival, his own political ambition. So whoever came out as not standing with him, he felt like that was not a very close friend. It was a betrayer, and he had to let him go. That is why he had to let NDINDI NYORO to go. And just as I've said, in politics, all these things, what matters here is personal interest. So Ruto also acted because of his own personal and political interests. He had to let NDINDI NYORO go. But NDINDI NYORO, on the other hand, had to also act on his own personal and political interest, because his interest is to take over the mantle of Mount Kenya region as the kingpin. And in trying to scuttle all this, he never wanted to make a move that was going to make him stand as the second fiddle to Rigathi Gachagua. And that is where now Rigathi Gachagua feels betrayed by NDINDI NYORO. NDINDI NYORO feels betrayed by William Ruto. And William Ruto, in all this, also feels that he was betrayed by Rigathi Gachagua and betrayed by NDINDI NYORO. But the constant thing here in all this is political and personal interest. So ladies and gentlemen, that is it from us today. Until next time, bye-bye. But if you're new here, kindly hit the subscribe button and the notification bell down below so that you can be notified whenever we post a new video. Until next time, bye-bye.